Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So I did a video earlier asking, it was a question that Hard Bastard asked, whether Jimmy Dore is experiencing cognitive dissonance. Hard Bastard is going to be here on Wednesday, and him and I are going to talk about it when he gets here. I said in that video, Jimmy Dore is one of my favorite people on YouTube, hands down. When he's doing his thing, he's doing his thing. It's like watching somebody play an instrument or something to that effect. I'm going to show you a video that he did, and it is fucking amazing, but it gets across exactly the issue with the Russia thing. I've made multiple videos on the Russian thing because it's aggravating to me. It's like you guys are pushing this purely to obfuscate, and all of the things that you're creating, all of these monsters that you believe you're creating in order to tackle down Trump is also going to bite you in the ass. Having these lefties go along with this nonsense, it's going to bite us in the ass. It's already biting us in the ass. They're silencing people. They're censoring information. This is a bad path. Let me say it this way. This is a bad path. And they're using Russia as this kind of crutch in order to pull this off. I'm going to let Dore go into this. Like I said, I made multiple videos on this, but I like the way Dore puts this. It's about 4 minutes long. It's fucking awesome. Let's let Dore do his thing.
The Putin puppet. I've read in the comments of under a Young Turks video that I did on the Young Turks main show, people were saying crap like, "Why is Jimmy defending the Russians?" How brainwashed is that audience? Can you imagine saying that about anyone else? Why is he defending the Mexicans? Why is he defending the Jews? Some of the leading fearmongers about Russian interference have consistently conflated political views they don't like with a foreign attack on our democracy.
It's worth repeating.
Yes.
It's worth repeating.
Yes. RT's coverage of Occupy Wall Street.
Understand what he just said right there. He's making this point that everything now is Russia. Russia did it. Russia has something to do with the environmental people trying to push for environmental change. Russia has something to do with Bernie Sanders supporters being angry that Bernie Sanders got cheated. Russia has something to do with agitating Black Lives Matter because when they get shot in the face, people tend to get upset by that stuff. Russia has something to do with Arabs or Muslims being against Hillary Clinton because they didn't necessarily like the regime change in foreign countries. Their argument now is everything boils down to Russia, this boogeyman. And the way they're talking about this is in terms of 9/11, Pearl Harbor. It's an attack on our democracy. This is the language that these people are using. One of the news guys, I can't think of his name, the one that wrote the book Game Change, comes out and says that Nunez is a Russian agent, or maybe a Russian agent. Do you know how stupid that sounds? Can't believe I bought this fucking book. That guy's an idiot. And the people who are talking like that are fucking idiots. This issue has nothing to do with Russia. They're using this to obfuscate from the main issues that they need to deal with. They are dealing with a populist revolt from the left and to the right, and the way that they're trying to deal with it is using Russia. They're trying to use Russia as a club in the same way they used Russia as a club back during the McCarthy time. The problem with this is you have lefties deranged by Donald Trump, and they just go along with it. Jimmy Dore's right. Let's keep going.
Street, social media ads promoting Black Lives Matter, and congressional attempts to block U.S. military aid to alleged neo-Nazi militia in the Ukraine have all been cited as examples of Russian propaganda reach within the United States. So when RT covers Occupy Wall Street, that's considered propaganda by the FBI. Black Lives Matter ads on Facebook, that's also considered propaganda by the Russians. Wow. Of all the possible bodies to be given the power to delegitimize online speech, the FBI may well be the worst. But go ahead, go watch your other lefty news shows. You know, the ones who are pro fucking Palestinian bombing, and they're also pro Russiagate. You're not a left show, and you're not a critical thinker. You're just boring and wrong. And you're destructive.
I don't know who he's talking to. I don't know who he's aiming that at. Well, whoever he's aiming it at. Assume random person A or random person B. It seems a little bit personal, but nevertheless, he still has a good point. You guys they're whipping up this hysteria because they're terrified of Donald Trump. And they're using this as a club to hit Donald Trump. At the exact same time, they're using it to try to hit lefties in the knees. This is them trying to maintain their position as a Democratic Party. They want to maintain this workable point of view that they've arranged over the course of the last 20 years. This kind of the third way Democrats. Well, the problem is they're being assailed on both sides. And they're losing and bleeding people and bleeding support. Nobody trusts them. They're not seen as a party of the people anymore. Now, they may get elected because Donald Trump terrifies people, but ultimately the party itself is somewhat vapid and people don't necessarily believe there's anything to the party. It has no way to distinguish itself at this point. So there's Russia. And yeah, these people are brainwashed. I have a friend of mine, close friend of mine, comes over. Yeah, man, Trump and Russia. And it can never answer the exact question of, but why do you think that? Like, what's the thing that made you think that particular case was the thing that mattered? Not just that, even if it's true, you understand that we do this all across the world. I showed a clip the other day with the guy from the FBI saying, yeah, we only do it for good reasons. We only do it for good reasons. Do you know how many governments we've toppled around the world? Do you know how many people we've killed? We've installed dictators into countries, brutal dictators, into other countries in order to block quote-unquote communism or in order to get the resources of a particular place. I'm making this point, we do worse. In the last 18 years, we destroyed a country. We destroyed multiple countries. Libya has slave trades right now. Iraq was obliterated. Do you understand that our behavior around the globe instigated ISIS? We completely destabilized that region of the world. We instigated ISIS. A report recently came out that said the weapons that ISIS had, many of those weapons came from the United States and Saudis. This is us. This is what we're doing. Being against that is not a Russian thing. Being against it is just being a good goddamn person. Now, this position that Democrats are staking out, that because Donald Trump didn't want to do the Nazi thing, or because Donald Trump didn't necessarily want to arm these guys, that they are somehow, oh, he's being manipulated by Russia because he stopped arming terrorists in Syria. He's clearly being manipulated by Russia. Everything gets the tint of Russia on it, and they use this as a smear campaign. This is outright McCarthyism. These people are fucking liars. There are other things that should be occupying your time with regards to the way you process your life. Do you honestly believe that of all the things that you need to focus on and that your government needs to focus on, that your government needs to worry about, and that you yourself personally needs to worry about, do you honestly believe that Russia is on that list? Did Russia have any influence in the election? That answer is no. Did Russian government send those ads? The answer is I don't care. It doesn't matter. Did they have any influence on the election? Again, the answer is no. Do we take the same behaviors around the world? That answer is yes. Do we do worse around the world? That answer is also yes. Have we destroyed governments? Yes. Yes, we have. I am missing the argument here. They don't have a leg to stand on. They don't have a moral leg to stand on. The fact is, there was no influence. So, all this Russia talk is nonsense. If you want to fix your electoral system, fix your electoral system. That has nothing to do with Russia. If you want to fix the gerrymandering, if you want to fix the capacity of these guys to close down polling locations, or putting in laws that makes it more difficult for people to vote, those are the things that should be occupying your time if you're talking about the electoral system and getting a fair election. Russia has nothing to do with it. Russia has nothing to do with it. This stuff is pure obfuscation. Let's keep going. I'm going to let Jimmy do it.
I mean, the biggest theme here, and it's a cliche, but in this case, it's very, very true. Those that don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it. And, if anyone tuning in, this is maybe the first video and you don't realize that throughout most of it, I was sarcastic to the nth degree. We are seeing history repeat itself in real time, except instead of the civil rights movement, it's now Black Lives Matter. And instead of the Black Panther Party, it's DAPL. The same thing is happening.
Occupy Wall
It's
Street.
Occupy Wall Street.
Instead of the Socialist Worker Party, it's Occupy Wall Street. Yes.
There are parallels
and
everywhere.
the fucking left, the people who call themselves lefty news people, are right now in the middle of propping up the FBI and Russiagate. Instead of pushing back and telling people this is ridiculous. Do you know everything Russ is accused of doing in our election, we do everywhere else? Even if Russia did it, we do it everywhere. This is standard operating procedure. And so when you push this, you're pushing bullshit propaganda. People say, well, Trump, though, I know why Trump's a Manchurian candidate, Ron, because he did money laundering for Russian oligarchs.
This is the Chink's argument. this is Jenk's argument. It is the weirdest argument. I would say, look at the debate between Cenk and Cal. And Cenk is like, yeah, he's getting money from Russian oligarchs. And because he's getting money from Russian oligarchs, they have their hooks in him and they control him like an animatronic Donald Trump. And he just moves around and walks around as President Trump. I mean, it's comically ridiculous. Anything that you tell him to get across, like, well, dude, you understand that he was arming troops in Ukraine. Those guys are neo-Nazis. Those guys are going to be using those weapons against other Russians. Yeah, he didn't have anything to do with that. What are you talking about? He's president of the United States. He has that choice. Or, well, he's staying in Syria. I mean, he was bombing in Syria. Yeah, those were Nerf bombs. Those bombs didn't matter. To Uyghur, everything is filtered through that lens of Donald Trump is an animatronic Russian robot. Ergo, anything that Donald Trump does has to be in coordination with Russia. I mean, it's the weirdest argument. Everything just fits into that specific frame of reference. So you can imagine if that's his argument, and he's talking to his audience, and his audience is believing the stuff that he's saying. It would be no different than somebody listening to Rachel Maddow, Chris Matthews, or anybody else. They're listening to the person, thinking that person is telling them something good and decent. Those people are getting fed a lot of bullshit. And apparently you have some that believe it. Let's finish them up.
And so Russian oligarchs work for Putin, so that's why he's a Putin bot.
Doesn't matter. The oligarchs only live in Russia or here, right?
Right. Yeah.
They don't live anywhere else.
Bill Clinton got $500 million put right in his pocket by the Kremlin Bank. That was nothing, though. They all fucking do it. They put $142 million into the Clinton Foundation, but that was because they wanted to do charity, right? What the fuck? And yeah, you should be pissed off about this. Yeah, because people on the left are doing this to themselves. And when they wake up, it's going to be too fucking late. It's already too late. They're already not talking about the shit that Trump's doing in lieu of talking about this shit. Russian bots on Twitter. You're a news show and you're doing that as a serious fucking news show segment. Jesus effing fucking Christ. The fact I didn't go to Harvard. I didn't go to fucking Cornell. I didn't go to Princeton. I went to Illinois State and Columbia College. And so why it makes me so mad is because I know those people who went to those better colleges know fucking better than what they're doing. And for them to let their lizard brain be excited because of Trump and then have them deceive everyone who tunes to them for the news is disgusting.
That's intense.
Seth.
That's intense. Yeah, he's right. Look, I've covered TYT right much recently. Again, I don't have no animosity with TYT or Cenk or anybody else. You guys already know I like Dore. Secular talk is pretty decent. Like TYT politics. This Russian narrative is dangerous. That's been my perspective for the entire time. We are inching closer and closer to the brink of war. And these guys are taking the perspective on the left that anything that Trump does, pulling us back from the brink, is somehow being controlled and manipulated by Russia, because Russia and Syria are allies. This is a bizarre system of politics that these guys are using. If they really wanted to win, they would distinguish themselves from the other opposition. Problem with this is they can't distinguish themselves in the way they need to distinguish themselves. You have a populist revolt. You have this lefty progressives pushing on the political apparatus itself, trying to get change into the system itself. How do you keep those people out? How do you answer those questions? How can you answer a question that you can't really answer? Your donors have already told you that shut up about class. Meaning this better deal nonsense. Shut up about it. Shut up about it. You need to find some way else to win. If you're talking about class, and if you say the word billionaire, I'm going to cut your money off. I'm going to shut my wallet. No more credit cards down your ass cheeks. Chuck Schumer. And they shut up about it. These guys are bribed. These guys are paid. This is literally open air bribery. The guy, the Republican, comes out saying, if we don't pass that tax bill, our donors say they won't give us any more cash. Lose our phone numbers. These are plutocrats. Openly. Not in the shadows. Openly saying, I am buying your politicians. There are certain things that these guys will say and will not say, and it would represent our interests, or they're not getting money from us when they run in the next election. That's the system of governance to which you have. The people who are pushing this Russia nonsense allows them to persist that particular line of thought, that line of argument. Do you understand they're even using that to undermine Sanders? His supporters, it wasn't that energetic. It didn't make it look like they were all those people at those rallies and everything else. Those things were Russian plants. Hillary Clinton didn't lose because she was a horrible candidate that nobody liked. She didn't lose because she picked Tim Kaine to be her vice president. She didn't lose because they cheated Sanders. No, she lost because of those fucking Russians and Comey and that asshole Bernie Sanders who wouldn't get out the race and let the first woman be president of the United States. These things are obfuscations to cover for the fact that status quo failed miserably. They don't want to deal with that reality. They're trying to use any and everything that they can to obfuscate from that very specific reality. They failed at a magnificent fucking level. And the thing that they need to do to resolve that particular issue conflicts with who that party is and their workable point of view and the donors that they need to get elected. The crux of this issue is cash, not Russia. Your system is sloshing and ensconced in cash. That's your particular problem. Russia is an obfuscation. If lefties are only here pushing a Russia nonsense, then yeah, you're part of the problem. Not only are you part of the problem, you are dangerous in the way that you're pushing the United States in this particular direction. These people are rabid. I've seen more xenophobic, racist jokes going towards this idea of Russians than I've ever had in my life. It's fucking amazing. Not to mention, it's stupid as hell. These people are fucking idiots. Typically, people bump heads. I get it on the left. There are certain places that we want to go, and there are things we may agree and disagree about. But this is insanity. It's like, what do you expect to take place? Even if you're right, what are you going to do about it? Who puts sanctions on the United States when we go into a country and kill 1 million people? There doesn't seem to be any consequences from the standpoint of the United States itself. Destroy the fucking country. Where's our standing to be this outraged and this pissed off? And is this outrage and them being pissed off a little bit hyperbolic, don't you think? The hysteria itself, all of this stuff is politically motivated. This shit is not real. I'm sorry, it's not. Even if it is true that they had Facebook and Twitter ads. First, listen how ridiculous that sounds. Facebook and Twitter ads, the majority of which happened after the election itself. Even if it's true, they've been using this to try to silence dissent. RT is not a threat to democracy. And if RT is a threat to democracy, there's something wrong with your democracy. So, I'll leave it at that. Good fucking job, Jimmy Dore. I love that video. I love that clip. Honest, straightforward, and brutal. Good fucking job. That's Jimmy Dore I like. I don't need Jimmy Dore to leave TYT. I'm perfectly okay with it. Whether this is cognitive dissonance or not, he represents the interest, man. It's a network. They can have different shows on the network. I agree with him though. They're pushing bad mojo. Let's say it that way. Put it nicely. All right, guys. If you enjoy the content, feel free to share, like, subscribe, and of course, you can always support the Patreon. Thanks, everyone.